I am declaring war on the kingdom of Gluteus Medius. All resources will be dumped into this struggle. Having that said, I will keep half an eye on the kingdom of hip flexors. Oh man, I have just finished a 3-hour slog of God knows what. Sciencey, testy, madness, that kind of stuff. I have done a whole bunch of testing on trying to target the glute med. Initially I started with the single leg RDLs. A bunch of you guys last night said this exercise was the go-to for the gluteus medius, and I would agree, definitely targets the gluteus medius. You would think that the hamstrings would get some sort of activation from this, but for me there was none. It only makes sense because I was loading this type of movement pattern with 2 legs on the ground up to 200 kilos for sets of 5. So that's kind of what my hamstrings are used to. But you remove one leg and start balancing on one leg, and what you have there is a whole different ball game where the glute med needs to stabilize the pelvis as you're going through the range of motion. The whole time I was thinking my left leg is miles away from my right leg in terms of strength. My right leg is crap. It is buckling. It is threatening to knee valgus. It was just wobbling all over the place. And I was getting sensations of the previous hip pain, same type of pain, as I was getting through the sets, and I did a lot of sets today. I started feeling that exact same pain coming from the hip as I was doing that range of motion, and literally was coming from the glute med. Now, for the longest part, I was telling you guys that I think that the TFL is responsible for the pain, because literally I would palpate over it, push my thumb into it, and I would reproduce that pain. And that was kind of indicating to me that it was a muscular issue, and it was specifically the TFL, right? And the fact that it was kind of radiating down to my knee, it was kind of communicating with its tendon, which is the ITB, iliotibial band. So the tensor fascia lata feeds into the ITB, and the whole leg is just bust. Today I was doing the RDLs, and I was feeling my TFL jumping in to assist the glute med. The glute med for me feels like it's not even existent. It is so pathetically weak. I was gobsmacked how pathetically weak it is, and there's no reason for it to be any strong because I never do any unilateral exercise. I've not done it for a bunch of time. And this goes to show you that if you're doing bilateral exercises, if you're doing squats and deadlifts, they don't really challenge other muscles, and those muscles are the glute med and whatever. And so when I today was messing around with all of this, I should have filmed this so you guys have some sort of visual reference to what I'm talking about. But as I was progressing through the RDLs, through the whole freaking day of targeting their glute medius, I kept reassessing my internal hip rotation. You guys know what I've done this before, where you sit on a bench, you lift one leg off the ground ever so slightly so your leg is not touching the ground, your foot's not touching the ground, and then you kick your heel out laterally. And that's kind of like a rough test. It's not scientific, but it gives you an indication of how much internal hip rotation you have. And as I was going through the RDLs, I was finding more and more hip internal rotation. Initially, no hip internal rotation. So my lack of hip internal rotation seems to be very much coordinated, very much related to lack of strength in the glute med. So I did 5 sets of 10 with the bar, and then did 5 sets of 10 with 40 kilos here, and by the end of it, my right hip was just fried. And then I was reading some of the comments in between these sets, and one of you guys was mentioning a strongman fella, Martin Leaches, I think that's how I said it. I forget, I apologize if I'm butchering his name. But one of you guys said the dude is 360 odd pounds and he can do a pistol squat, and how impressive that is and whatnot. And so I started kind of playing around with this idea of doing a pistol squat onto a bench, which is basically a very high bench. The other day I was doing what do you call them, box squats, and they were very, very high. And so anyway, I decided to do some pistol squats. I didn't record that. I just did one set. And as I was kind of lowering down and up, I started getting that hip pain again. So I'm kind of getting warmer and warmer and warmer. I'm kind of hitting the nail on the head here with this unilateral stuff. It's exposing my utmost weakest body part in my hips, which is the glute med. And it's unacceptable, right? It's unacceptable. And then so the whole idea here is that I'm looking for that specific thing. I'm looking to differentiate whether the marching exercise that I've been doing, thinking that I'm doing it for the hip flexor activation, I'm now wondering whether it's actually just a glute med exercise as you are stabilizing yourself while you're marching. Marching has been great for me. It's been really, really great. I've been kind of getting really good progress with the squats and pain-free, and the rest of that, I'm putting lots of volume in, I'm getting stronger. And then my mind started racing and thinking. So today I was basically just going straight after the glute med and doing exercises for the glute med. As I was going through these exercises, I started feeling better and better. My hip internal rotation was feeling better and better. And eventually it led to me to do some front squats, and the front squats felt amazing. Amazing. So I started thinking to myself, geez, man, maybe your hypothesis is right here because you are feeling incredible doing the glute med exercises. There's no hip flexor exercises here. Single weight RDL, and this thing that I'm showing you guys right here. Oh, not quite yet. I think the next clip. I just basically started doing step-ups. Now, these step-ups are very, very shallow, and you guys are probably thinking, what the hell are you doing? What I was trying to focus on here is removing any sort of involvement by the posterior leg, by the back, the leg that's on the ground. I have done step-ups onto a bench. I've done step-ups onto like a dining chair. And no matter what you do, man, you end up pushing off with the leg that's on the ground. And that kind of defeats the purpose of it, because that force that you push into the ground sends you into a position where you're starting off here anyway. So what I wanted to do is basically start on the step and slowly lower down, toe tap, touch the ground with the other leg and go up. So the entire time I've got pressure on that hip that I'm trying to work, on that glute med. And my God, was it on fire. It was so much more on fire than the single leg RDLs. So as I'm sitting here right now, I think the winner for today is the step-ups. It was just constant tension, constant smashing off that glute med. The quads were not even like on the map. Like, this is very, very lightweight for my quads. And so everything that I was getting, it was pure glute med. I started off with, I think this was 25 centimeters, the stool. There's a couple of stools kind of stacked on top of each other. I got my tape measure out, and I think I pushed it to 30 or 35. I think it was 30 centimeters off the ground. And that was kind of the limit for me, where I was starting to kind of buckle too much, lose my balance too much, and I was kind of relying on the back leg too much. So I think 30 centimeters for me, kind of block or stool or whatever you want to call this thing, step up is the perfect thing for me, for my strength level right now. Because anything kind of lower than that, I start to lean over way too much, and it just ends up being not effective. I think that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. I think I have enough strength in my system to do a pistol squat, but I don't have enough stability. Stability is this word that as a youngster I never really gave a crap about. It's not sexy. It's kind of like when I first started getting into cars, all I really cared about is how many kilowatts you have, how much horsepower do you have in your block, in your engine. What's the big power? So you go to car shows and you see this guy, 1,000 horsepower on the dyno, and you're like, wow, that's impressive. That's so impressive. And then as I kind of grew older, I was realizing that that's just show numbers, means nothing. It's just top end power on the dyno sheet means nothing in reality. What can you do in a quarter mile? What can you do in the first 200 meters? How good is this car actually to drive? If you have all of your power in the last couple of 1,000 RPM, it is useless. You just strap on a massive turbo, produce this wonderful number, but the area under the curve on that graph is pathetic. It's like an exponential graph growth. You don't want that. You want area under the curve. That's kind of like stability when it comes to weightlifting. It's not just about how much you can push on a leg press. That's your dyno sheet. Oh, Ivan, I can push half a ton on the damn leg press. It's like, great, man, there's some strength there. But you don't have the stability to control that thing when it's on your back. You shit yourself, basically. So these dyno sheets, these leg press motions mean nothing in the real world. I think I have enough leg strength to do a pistol squat, but I don't have enough stability. My glute med is not strong. So I can do 260 kilos in the deadlift, I can do 210 kilos on the damn squat, but I can't do my own body weight at 95, 96, 97 kilos. I can't do a single leg squat. That's crazy, right? I should be able to at least get halfway up or something. No, I can't. My knee buckles in. I start getting weird pinching sensations through my hip. Everything's freaking out. My TFL starts kicking in because the glute med is just pathetic. It's gone. It's got no freaking energy. It's got no freaking potential for any sort of strength. And so stability is what I'm going to be working on days like this. So today's supposed to be like a bench press, deadlift type of day. I started off with the RDLs, did some step ups. Tomorrow is going to be my heavy squatting session. And as I was doing all of this stuff, I kept thinking to myself, okay, glute med is definitely a weakness for you. There's no doubt about that. Like if I've identified anything today, it's the glute med is just pathetic. It's so damn weak. But that doesn't mean that the hip flexor work that you do in the marching is also useless. A lot of you guys were telling me about knees over toes guy and all the stuff that he was saying. A lot of you guys sent me links to some of his videos where he's talking about sprinting speed, the relationship between the glute and the hip flexor and how they translate, and how one allows the other to be, produce more force and whatnot. I'm down with that. When I do hip flexor work, I feel great. The thought process in all of this is for me to work out exactly what is driving what. I'm happy to do bicep curls and shoulder presses and rows and all that, but I want to know what is the meat and the potatoes of what I'm trying to do, 300 kilos, and what is just like an accessory that it's nice to do, whatever, but doesn't really need to be done right now because it's not a necessity. That's where my brain gets really excited, because I'm talking about efficiency. I really want to hit the nail on the head. I don't want to just come in and throw a nuclear bomb on a city. I want to find the guy that's really bad and put a bullet through his head. I want to find the guy that's responsible for the most evil in the world, do him, not just annihilate the whole country. That's ineffective. That's stupid stuff. That's just throwing a nuclear bomb. Any dumb person can press a button to drop a nuke. It's a lot more difficult to find the guy responsible for the evil in the world. Find the guy that's planned everything. Take him out. That's kind of my mentality. I want a specific approach. I want a laser surgical incision into a training. That's what kind of motivates me. A lot of the training programs that I see, it's kind of like they talk about planes of motion, right? They talk about pull, push, horizontal, pull, push, vertical, pull, push, legs. Make sure you do everything. So, your training sessions are being 2 hours and you just do a bit of everything. So you cover everything. We can all do that. But my mind races on. My mind wants to find what the hell is going on here, man. What are we talking about here? I want to find it. And then I want to spend an hour doing that thing alone and not worry about the fluff. You got to remember, I'm not some general athlete, like a strong man who wants to be good at everything. Squatting, pulling, deadlifting, carrying, yoking, you name it, running a mile. I don't want to, in terms of CrossFit, I don't want to be that. My goal is very specific. It's to squat. Okay. The very, very close to that is to deadlift. I don't have these ambitions to be like an all-rounder like LeBron. Okay. I don't want to play center, jump the jump ball at the start and then bring the ball up the following play. Don't want to do that. I've got a specific goal. I've got something in my mind. And so that's kind of the motivation here. I might come up with a conclusion in the next few days that basically says you need to hit everything that marching hits. Hip flexors and glute medius as well. This is why marching feels good, because you're hitting everything that you need to hit. If that's the case, hey, I'm down with it, man. I'm going to buy that monkey feet and I'm going to strap 2 tons to it and I'm going to pull until the cows come home, right? I'm going to get hip flexors real strong. I have no problem with that. But I do wonder, why does marching feel better than some other hip flexor exercise that I did? Like the kettlebell, lying supine kettlebell, where you stick a foot through a kettlebell and you lift it. That's also good, but it doesn't make me feel as good as marching. Marching does something. And so this is when my brain started racing. I feel like the mental side of all of this for me is as heavy as the damn physical work that I'm doing. There's a lot going through my mind, and a lot of you guys, like what I'm about. Some of you guys have watched me for a little while. This stuff turns me on. Intellectually, this stuff turns me on. It's like a problem solving. It's like detective work for my body. I love human movement. I love biomechanics. I don't have like a PhD in biomechanics or physiotherapy or anything like this. This started off being a hobby. I found squatting really difficult when I first started, and I kept thinking about it, churning away, picking at it, trying to work out what's what. And so over the years, this hobby has turned out into some like little crazy experiment that I want to kind of work on. It's kind of like, I remember back in the day, man, I used to have mates whose dads were into cars, like me, into barbells and whatever. They would have like an old Monaro, HQ Monaro, and they would just every single day after work, every single Saturday, Sunday, whatever, they would just come in and they would tinker. They would rebuild this thing for like 20 years. Panel work, engine work, transmissions, you name it. Upholstery, restore the whole thing. And then when the dude's 50 years old, he jumps in the car and goes for a drive on a Sunday. That's him. That's his hobby. That's what he loves to do. Rebuild, restore old stuff, old cars. And I'm a car guy, man. That's music to me. But like this is for me, man. Like this working out how to squat, working out biomechanics in the human body, the physiology, that makes me on another, time disappears for me, man. These last 3 hours vanished. Okay, it wasn't like 3 hours of slogging hard work in the emergency department. It wasn't like that, man. It was like, I just had fun, and freaking clock, somebody sped it up. That's how I feel about all of this stuff, man. I love this stuff. I love talking about it. I love experimenting. This is kind of like, it's funny, man. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like, it's almost, this type of period is almost more enjoyable than when everything clicks. When everything clicks in and you just know you got to put the hard work in, you've worked out the recipe. Like a few weeks ago, I had like a 3 week period where I was just like marching away, squatting away, and every freaking day it seemed like I was putting on 10 kilos. I started off 160, then 170, then 180, then went to 190, and I do that for 3 sets of 5, and I'm like, God damn, I'm an animal, man. What's going on? Like this is working really, 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 really well. And then my mind starts going in, okay, but what is actually happening with my marching? Like, let's pick this thing apart. I should probably just ignore it, right, and continue marching, Bob's your uncle. But my intellect won't allow that. I can't not open that door and explore the possibilities of what's happening down there. That to me is unacceptable. For me, the mental stimulation is just as important for me than as anything. Look at my little girl here, cutie pie. Just as I look at the phone, I see her. 7 sets of 5 on the bench press at 120. That's also going really, really well. I'm doing a lot of freaking volume on the bench press. Like, we're talking every other day. I'm not even missing days anymore. This time last year, I was like in the midst of like a 3-4 month period of not doing bench at all, or something along those lines. It was a very long time. And a lot of you guys are like, man, your arms are blowing up. Man, I see my arms are kind of developing shape and whatever. It's all kind of looking good. My shoulders are developing as well. It's the damn volume, man. I'm doing a lot of volume. Simple as that. My shoulders never hurt, man. My shoulders never freaking hurt. All this volume talk, it's not hurting. I know a lot of you guys were saying to me, swap out the bicep curls with pull-ups. I'm waiting for the shoulder to get upset. I'm waiting for the elbows. Nothing is wrong. Things are going well. 120 for 7 sets of 5. You know what that means, man? Next workout, I'm going to go for 130. For 3 sets of 5 or something along those lines. I'll see how I feel. But things are going well. I ain't touching nothing, man. So training is going really, really well. But I have to admit, I'm in a good spot right now. No new names on Patreon today, which is completely fine because there's 1,000 names on there already. Just want to thank each and every one of you for being on that list, for supporting me, and for feeding this crazy mad scientist in his little garage at the end of the world somewhere. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.